We are right on the edge of a total shopping revolution. I'm talking about a world where AI assistants don't just suggest what you should buy, they might actually make the purchase for you. But that brings up a really big question, right? Can we actually trust an algorithm with our wallet? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the science of trust, AI, and what this all means for the future of e-commerce. You know the feeling, I'm sure. You go online to look for just one simple thing, and next thing you know, you've got 20 tabs open, you're drowning in hundreds of reviews, and honestly, you're more confused than when you even started. It's a real thing, and it's got a name: information overload. It's that kind of paralysis you get when you're just hit with way too many choices. And it's the exact problem that this next wave of technology is trying to solve. So how did we even get here? In our first section, let's unpack the current state of online shopping and why, a lot of the time, it feels like we're just stuck in some kind of digital maze. Now, the big idea to solve this problem is a concept called Agentic Commerce. And this isn't just about, slightly smarter pop-up ads. We're talking about handing over the entire shopping process to an AI. Just imagine an assistant that gets you, researches all the options, maybe even haggles for a better price, and then boom, makes the purchase. It's a massive leap from what we think of as online shopping today. All right, so now that we've got our heads around agentic commerce, let's take a closer look at what these AI assistants are supposed to do and the big challenges they're up against. I mean, on the surface, this sounds amazing, doesn't it? An intelligent agent that just cuts through all the junk and finds you the perfect thing. But there's a pretty significant hurdle that this tech has to clear first. And it all boils down to this one single, absolutely crucial question. It's one thing to let an algorithm pick a song for you, but it's a whole other universe to let it influence how you spend your actual hard-earned money. And hey, this isn't just some philosophical debate. In our next section, we're going to look at a really cool study from Lund University that put this exact question of trust to the test. And the results? Well, they're pretty surprising. So, to figure out how we make these decisions, the researchers used a framework called the stimulus-organism-response model. Okay, I know, it looks a little complicated, but it's actually a super simple way to map out the mental journey we all take when we're deciding whether or not to buy something. Let's just break it down. It all kicks off with a stimulus, in this case, someone recommending a product. But what happens then? Well, that stimulus triggers an internal feeling inside of you, which the model calls the organism. This is where your gut feeling, your sense of trust, kicks in. And finally, that feeling leads to a response, your decision to either buy it or not. Simple, right? Stimulus, trust, action. So, what even is trust? The study breaks it down into these 3 pillars. Ability is basically asking, is this recommender any good at its job? Benevolence is, does it actually care about what's best for me? And integrity is it honest? Can I rely on it? The researchers set up this brilliant, simple face-off. They had people imagine they were shopping for wireless headphones. Half the group got a recommendation from a human product expert. The other half, they got the exact same advice, word for word, but they were told it came from an AI. And the results were, well, they were pretty stark. The researchers found a huge trust penalty against the AI. This number you see here, -0.673, that's just the statistical way of showing it. In plain English, it means that even when the advice was identical, people were way less likely to trust the AI. The AI starts out with a major disadvantage right out of the gate. But this is where it gets really fascinating. What happens when there's more on the line? Let's jump to our next section to see what happened when the researchers added a little bit of risk to the equation. So they created 2 different scenarios. The low-risk one was a recommendation for some affordable, well-reviewed headphones from a brand everyone knows and likes. Pretty safe bet, right? But the high-risk scenario involved really pricey, professional headphones with kind of mixed, inconsistent reviews. A much bigger gamble. Okay, this graph right here tells the whole story. The light blue is the low-risk situation, the dark blue is high-risk. Now look, when the recommendation came from a human, yeah, trust dipped a little bit when things got risky. But when it came from an AI, trust absolutely plummeted. It didn't just go down, it fell off a cliff. That trust gap between humans and AI becomes a massive chasm when the stakes get high. So why? What's driving this huge drop in trust? Well, the researchers found the answer when they looked back at those 3 pillars. When it came down to the final decision to buy, it wasn't about the AI's skill or whether it seemed helpful. As the study says, it was all about its perceived integrity. And this is the key takeaway, right here. When there's real risk involved, our decision isn't based on how smart the advisor is. It's based on whether we think they're being honest and reliable. It's not a question of competence, it's a question of character. Okay, so what in the world does all of this mean for the future of online shopping? Let's explore the big implications in our final section. So, let's just recap what we've learned. First, AI starts out with a big trust problem. Second, that problem gets way, way worse when things get risky. Third, the real key to building trust isn't about being smart, it's about proving you're honest. And finally, if there's no trust, even the most powerful AI recommendation in the world is totally useless. This all points to a really crucial insight for any company that's building these AI shopping tools. The goal probably shouldn't be to replace people, but to work with them. A hybrid approach where the AI does the heavy lifting with data and a human provides that final layer of trust and oversight. That seems to be the winning strategy. And that brings us to the ultimate question for the future of agentic commerce. Can integrity, a deeply, deeply human quality, ever be convincingly programmed into an algorithm? The answer to that question is probably going to decide the entire future of how we shop. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.